how to get an SBA loan up to $150,000, up to $350,000, and up to $5 million with the standard SBA 7A program. You have the Express, the standard 7A, and a few other ones underneath that SBA 7A loan program, as well as how to get 0% interest for 6 to 18 months and other business funding alternatives perhaps you're not seeing, and so much more. My name is Michael with Viral Funding Solutions. Welcome into this live. I'm streaming on the TikTok channel, and perhaps you'll be watching this later on YouTube, so you can refer down below in the description for all other information. And if you're on TikTok, please refer to the bio for further help. Now, I want to jump right into things. How can you get an SBA loan up to $150,000 first, and then I'll work my way up to $350,000 and then $5 million. But before I go into these kind of qualifications, how it exactly works, what you should know is, what is the Express program? What can I do with this? So it is a much smaller form of the $350,000 to $5 million range with the SBA 7A loan. Different qualifications, not exactly a whole lot different. But you will see certain circumstances with what's acquired with collateral if necessary. A lot of cases with these little 150, 20 to 150, 50 to 150, 50 to 350 range, you perhaps may not have to offer up collateral, especially if you are cash flow positive and there is enough cash flow to service the debt. In other circumstances, it will be asked for if cash flow probably isn't at its best, but collateral isn't the primary need. And so with that said, you may see an entry point of at least $120,000 in annual gross revenue, and or $150,000 could be a better basis point to say, hey, if you are doing $150K in annual gross revenue, then we can take a better look at your file, consider you for more funding, what's the profitability, and I'll get into that in a moment. And then the other component is, well, it's best to have $250,000 ideally in annual gross revenue. Other cases, yes, like I said, you can get in with $120K, if not $150K, have at least a 660 FICO. 680 and above is best, if not a 700. Certain lenders for an Express loan will want to see you do at least $150,000 in annual gross revenue and have a 700 plus FICO. And if I didn't get into all of the details on what that Express loan is, just know it's a smaller program. I spoke already about this in a video that I created the other day on the YouTube channel. So if you guys would like to learn about the SBA Express program more in detail, how it works and so much more about it, then you guys can check that out. But I want to keep it short and concise and get into some of those qualifications. So you're seeing at least 2+ years in business. So again, you can get in with 2+ years, get in with $120,000, get in with a 660 FICO, but it's best that you're doing more. Don't just do the minimum to get in, do better revenue, do better credit score, and see which one is outweighing the other, but have them parallel where you're growing with one another. Your revenue's coming up, you're bringing up your credit score, your time in business is also, automatically over time, it just goes up. So those are certain requirements. Business credit, that's something you want to have for sure. I can't tell you the amount of people that I've already shut down this week, we're only on Tuesday, who have everything except what? The business credit. They don't have anything established. They're not building anything, no accounts, no vendor credit. They're not reporting trade lines, and that's a huge mistake. And I get people who come to me and go, well, I should have done this years ago. I should have known about this. I've heard about it, but I didn't think it would apply to me when I'm getting a business loan. And it does. It has a major implication on getting an Express loan, let alone $350,000 to $5 million, the standard small SBA loan, the cap line program, the Export Express program, other line of credit Express programs, and so much more. So ideally, to build your business credit, it can change in cases within the market, and then credit reports changing and what the credit bureaus are doing. So in this market, you're seeing about 6 to 8 months realistically having better reporting trade lines, making sure that you are having that vendor credit and it's actually reporting to the business credit bureaus. You're building accounts, you're having, car loans, home mortgage, and other situations where we look at your personal and business credit and we see the differences between the two. Personal, we can see those accounts and what's actually reporting, what are the discrepancies. And these are a lot of the things that I can check myself and what we do in our underwriting. So realistically, you're seeing 6 to 8 months. You can see an established, quote unquote, business credit profile in about 4 months, maybe a little bit less than 4 months. It could be in cases 1 to 2, but it's very rare you're going to see that unless you started it way long ago and you have something to pick up on. So more realistically, 6 to 8 months, if not just barely breaking it in with the 3 credit bureaus at just underneath 4 months. So be more prepared to understand that it's not just about opening up something with Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, etc., and just letting it sit there. You want to actively be using it. And if it hasn't been active as much, it's still okay as long as there's something there that's recent that shows you're actually using your business credit and that you're putting in things underneath your business. Otherwise, you won't qualify for these types of SBA Express loans up to 150, up to 350. Perhaps it's a standard 7A loan, the line of credit cap line program, unsecured term loans between 1 to 2, 1 to 5 years in this market, equipment financing loans. This is why I see a lot of truckers, construction workers, a lot of different industries who look for equipment and they don't get it, or they complain because the rates are high. It's not about all of the rates. There's a higher demand, less of a supply in this economy. And so with that, the rates will come up and it's assessed at a higher risk. Everybody's wanting it. And then your credit profile, your revenue profile, if any, and so forth. And then the down payment in this market, you can see be a little bit higher. Even with non-startups, you typically see 0 to about 15s in a lot of cases. In this market, you're seeing above 20%, 20 to 40%. So I'm going to go on a little bit more, but I'm going to come to the comment section right now. And I'm going to put my charger on my phone. And while I'm doing that, just so you know, once again, I already created content on this SBA Express Loan, the standard 7A program that I'll link you to down below in the description. Make sure you watch that full video where it'll completely show you and break down how it works, the qualifications, and other forms of non-SBA related funding. So make sure you watch that. That'll be the next step, as well as the questionnaire form. So up here, let me see if I missed anybody. You're saying you can get that on the ramp card? Well, that's good. If you're looking at, I don't know if that's a question, but if you're able to get that, great. Other people, they don't have access to certain business personal credit cards. They have to build vendor credit with certain vendors, and then they have to go into retail gas credit. Major online retailers like Amazon, you get lines of credit. Perhaps at a later degree, you don't have to put in a personal guarantee. You have access to more limits on the back end. You can use that funding as working capital and you have it there. And then a lot of people who come to me wanting an SBA loan of up to 150, 350K with some of the parameters that I already mentioned, they don't have business credit. And so without going into it too in depth, because again, that other video is down below in the description, with the qualifications in hand, the underwriting process in the first place, we can do more of an in-house setup, or we can do a soft pull with SBA Express Loan, standard loans, any kind of those SBA 7A loans, and get an assessment to see if you will even be credit worthy, if you will be revenue worthy, which I already do a lot of that pre-underwriting in the beginning, but we just want to have another second look. And then this is another way for the lender to take another look at it, which is understandable, and our underwriters to take another look. And so we can make an assessment and go, hey, well, yes, you'll qualify, you won't. And then if we move forward with it, then perhaps we may have some kind of consent and we go, hey, well, we're going to do a hard credit pull. We'll ask from you, or it's already expected, and when you communicate with me. So the underwriting, it's not like it's vigorous, or it's more difficult if we make it difficult. So I have people who I have to ask for information so I could forward it over to the lender. So I'll pre-underwrite the file, do the debt service coverage ratio, EBITDA, and a few other components to make sure profitability is there and so forth, how much you can service. And then I'll send it over to the lender. We go through underwriting, and it's another look for all of that. And then we may ask for more information. We may need something that you didn't already submit to us, something that you're missing. If you don't have all the documentation ready to submit to me, and you're saying one thing, doing another, I mean, that's already a recipe for disaster. Nobody has energy and time for. So just be honest with yourself with the information that you can supply and can't supply. If you're looking for faster funding, We can do that too with getting a form of an express loan up to 150, up to 350, or even more if you're getting 350 and above. Let's say, for example, you get approved for 250,000 in an express loan. And then at the same time, we can combine another form of financing. Well, I needed an extra 100,000. I needed at least 350,000, Michael. And I really do need it in the next 2 months. I can't wait. So in the meantime, or not even in the meantime, if you have that SBA loan, we can have another form of financing. We can look at getting you a line of credit on top of an unsecured term loan, or a line of credit on top of a cash advance, and or. So there are forms of mixing in more funding, and perhaps there's a personal loan on that equation where you can use it for business. It just depends on what you need the funds for. How soon do you need them? Can you wait? Do you need the funding now? I have people right now who show up in my inbox going, well, I don't want to pay 30% interest or 12%, 24, 28% interest. Even equipment loans are higher rates. And I go, I understand that. This is unsecured financing. Unless you have collateral to offer me, or unless your cash flow is stronger than what it is, your credit, business credit profile, and other forms of financing that you bring to the table, then there's a reason why you're assessed at a higher risk. Maybe your expenses are exceeding and you're going up higher in expenses and your revenue isn't as much, or it is, but where is it going? And what are those projection values? So a lot of people will come to me and go, well, it doesn't make sense. Well, it doesn't make sense to you because you are thinking about getting a loan where you can just have the money sitting there. A lump sum, who wouldn't want a lump sum of 10, 20, 30 years, like a 30-year EIDL loan, just sitting in there. Whenever you need to use it, you need to use it. But not everybody qualifies for those. So what do? If whether you qualify for 1 to 2, 1 to 3 years, maybe less than a year, you take that money, you use it how you need to use it, and the benefit will exceed the repayment. So for example, you took 20,000, you paid back 27 to 30,000 on it. You were only given 8 months because you were assessed at higher risk, and you can't be given more until you build that relationship. Well, about in a month from now, I'm going to take 20,000 and I'm going to turn it into 30,000. It's already a win-win within the first month. Or somebody else might come to me and go, well, in 2 months, then I'll grow my revenue to this. My return on my investment, my activity-wise, and then financially-wise, this is where I will be. Gross profit margins. This is where I will be month to month. If it helps me in about 6+ months, what does my long-term look? What does that look like? Whether that's going to be factored in to what I have now, or later down the road when I come back and get more, or I combine a few multiple services. But it's about building your way up to then eventually getting that SBA loan. So think about it. I don't get approved for an SBA loan. Let's start here. Work on business credit in the meantime. Work on that credit score personally. Work on your time in business if necessary. Work on those tax returns, extensions, all these things you need to get done with. And then look more attractive fundability-wise to myself, the lender, and everybody else. And then by that point, now you have more credibility, and you've at least tried another form of financing, so that by the time you come into getting a express loan, perhaps it's been 6 to 8 months, because now you build your business credit profile. And so in about 6 months or so, you can come back and apply or reapply for that SBA loan. A lot of individuals go and apply, but they don't understand what they're doing. With me as a business loan broker expert, I will precisely tell you, and the market changes with things like business credit, so you have to keep up to date. Where you thought it was just 3 to 4 months, now it's 6 to 8 months, and so forth. So there's a way of thinking about it. If I start up here at the SBA Express Loan already, do I need more funding? I only got approved for 300 to 350,000, but I needed an additional 50,000, and I will need that. So what can I do? Perhaps a line of credit approves me, perhaps an unsecured term loan, a cash advance, perhaps I go the personal loan route, perhaps I go the credit line hybrid route, building business credit on that end. Now I have access to funds I can use on top of that SBA loan. So these are just some of the many ways to look at it. And again, like I said, if you have to start here, then you build your way up. And there's products where we can combine it with the hybrid SBA 7A loan. In the meantime, when we're getting you approved for a SBA 7A loan, we can look at getting you bridge funding in the meantime. And then if you get approved for that SBA loan, we can consolidate it all underneath one. There are those available. And so all of this will be down below in the description as well as in the bio. Hi, Bob. I'm doing good. How are you doing? Hopefully you're still in here. You just started an e-commerce business and need funding. Advice? First of all, good job starting your e-commerce business. How's that been going so far? Still putting all the little building blocks together, your website, and so forth. Now, how new is it is the other question I have for you. If you are pre-revenue, like a lot of other individuals that I help, happy to hear it. I was going to ask you what niche you're in, but I'm sure you don't want to. A lot of people are sensitive to sharing what niche they're in. I mean, this is a very safe and secure zone. I started a health affiliate marketing blog in the back pain space, and then I grew it a little bit into e-commerce. I did a hybrid with a blog and then the e-com, but then I kind of went back to the blog and then did product reviews online and offline, and online on blog and then YouTube and so forth. But that was some time ago, and I still have that running. That's another one of my businesses. But got it, Amazon FBA. And so what happens is with pre-revenue, you have to think about what are my options. I have people right now who have strong credit. They have 800 and above, 700 and above, 680 can be a minimum. But you have to have at least 5 reporting trade lines to get that personal/startup loan. An annual revenue of at least 50,000 pay stubs or W-2 taxes. And so when we look at the personal side of the equation, does that match up? And can we get you that? And then you have the credit line hybrid, where you should be building access to funds on the back end by building different credit card accesses and getting higher limits to those. So when it comes to that, you have those two, 401k/IRA financing, the HELOC, home equity line of credit, angel investing. You have probably private equity. It'll be a bit of a stretch. Venture capitalist as well. That's another one. Venture capitalist, this is a huge one that I've also helped people with. And then there's quite a few more, like crowdfunding through angel investing, crowdfunding through venture capitalist crowdfunding. There are a variety of forms, or microloans, the Community Advantage program with the SBA, a little bit more difficult, but there's grants. There's a little bit more, but just understand that if you're looking for like 80, 90, 100,000 or whatever it is, and you don't have the revenue, no private lender, unless you're working with PayPal and you've generated sales through them, it's a bit different. So you're going to have to build. You're going to have to find another way, friends and family, non-conventional routes. So if it is pre-revenue, yeah, those are some of the circumstances. So what I recommend, and I will tell everybody this, is to go to the bio. I have a questionnaire form, fill that out. I'll evaluate and analyze it and give you a proper response back via email. I've been doing quite a few just before I came on here. I sent an individual who I had a great conversation with over the phone. I had to update him on some new business credits, things happening in the market, and expected time for him. He can qualify for an express loan. He has the revenue month to month. He has the deposits. He has the annual gross revenue. He has the credit score. No issues there. Inquiries, etc. Everything looks clean. And the business credit profile is the only thing limiting him. So what he has to do, you guessed it, build his business credit. And he told me on the phone, he's like, yeah, I should have done this years ago. We just don't know. Like, we think we can do this we could just build a Dun & Bradstreet account and think we're set. Or we get a business credit card or multiple ones and think they're reporting, or we're making the right purchases underneath the right vendors and our trade lines are reporting and they're building. That is wrong. And that's the major difference between somebody getting, that's honestly, I don't want to look like the victim here because I'm not. Honestly, I'm here as the business loan broker. You can call it business loan brokering / informational guy, marketing guy. I'm all three, the 5. And it's me working this. And I work every deal. I look at the bank statements. I look at the profit and loss statements, the income statements, the balance sheets. I do all of that. When I'm not here, I'm working on all of that. Every single second, I'm working on them. And so that's what you guys need to understand is it's the difference, and I'll come to the questions right now. The difference between somebody getting a cash advance, and getting an unsecured term loan, whether that's 1 to 2, 1 to 5 years. 1 to 2 is more realistic in this marketplace, even if you have higher revenue. It's about getting that business credit. Yes, the time in business will come. Yes, your revenue will rise. Yes, your industry will probably look better over time. However, and your credit can build, but you have to build those two things. They don't always work automatically. So you always have to change a part of your process in your business on how you're making your payments, your net 30, net 15s, net 45s, net 60s, net 90s. And you have to understand how fast am I making my payments and where am I going with all of this? Because there are a lot of business owners who are getting business funding underneath their personal account, underneath their personal side of the equation. They just keep getting flustered why they're not getting approved for SBA loans or other forms of financing. And it's not always like they're the best. There's a situation where this may make more sense right now as well as later on. So don't always look at those as a downside. Yes, absolutely. Net 30 with Uline. That's where I would go. More than Uline, I would go with Granger. Granger's at the top of my list, and they're always changing their credit reporting guidelines and just how much vendor credit you can build. There are a few other ones out there where I'm not going to start naming them all. I have them right now in my mind. But they changed their criteria that where it wouldn't work for a startup as it did in the beginning. Now, another one could replace it or it couldn't. So it'll be more limited. You just have to have the right system. And you can't just go to anyone. And you just shouldn't just apply with Uline. What I recommend is Uline, Granger, and a few other ones. There's some automotive. There's some other ones that I won't get into. But those would actually, if you used all of them, especially in a given month, and you make multiple payments, having limited payments, however you're making multiple at once, is helpful. But you should try to use as much as that credit on that credit card on your limits as you can to maximize and get an increase. And then this can actually help report much faster, especially if you have the payment set up much faster. If you're paying it before the 30 days are up, that's what you should do, even if you have net 30s. But do that, get it done, and you're going to see, not even the 6-month time frame, you can even see less than 6 months, a lot of this will be reporting well enough and you have sufficient trade lines. And speak to a lot of people like myself who are doing this, and they'll tell you, especially the trucking business owners, the transportation world, amongst all of them, this is the most, I would say the most beneficial, because a lot are looking for equipment. And if they were to just build their business credit card stacking, business credit, and appropriately making those payments, not taking more than what they can chew, guess what? Now you have 50 to 70, 50 to 100,000. You don't even have a $10,000 to $20,000 limit. You now have 50 to 100,000 and above that you can continuously use as revolving, and say, hey, I got 80,000, but Michael, I don't want to always put it on my business credit. I actually want an additional 20 to 30,000 that I can't get here, and I need to use a different form. And that's what people do with personal credit as well. So don't think it's only one way or the other. So with that example in mind, people come to me all the time. Yeah, you have business credit established, but Michael, I'm just looking for 20,000. I don't mind taking a daily or weekly repayment. Just give me that 20,000, please. I'm going to take it. I'm going to pay it off in less than a month. I was given, if you qualified for 1 to 2 years, it's not always going to be given, especially with the amount. It just has to make sense. If you qualify for it, yes, but 20,000, you get 18 months. Like, how does that make sense? Like, you qualify for that, but we know you can pay this off much faster. You're going to pay it off in less than a month, or in the month to 3 months or less. So you're taking 20,000, your interest isn't accruing, you're paying it all towards the principal, and guess what? You did what you needed to do, accomplished. And I know how to a lot of people this sounds more simpler said than done, but quite honestly, it's pretty simply said and done. It's just, we are lazy. Be honest with me. And I know you won't tell me, but if you're brave and courageous enough to tell me and raise your hand and say, Michael, I've been lazy, it's okay. I'll admit to you, I was lazy. When I was going through all this sole proprietorship, LLC, every part of it, just understanding, okay, well, I can't qualify for an unsecured term loan, not because I don't have the revenue or the credit profile or the time in business. I just don't have the business credit profile. So whether one lender looks at 1 or 3, 1 to 2, or all 3 of the business credit bureaus and what is actually being reported, then I won't get anything. And some lenders will look at it and be like, well, we can outweigh your personal credit. It's strong enough. I mean, you don't have as much business credit, but at the same time, they're not just going to want to see you have accounts open with the 3 business credit bureaus and nothing has been even developed. So you, as a business owner, have to ask yourself, and I sent quite a few people this today because they didn't have the wrong misconception of how all of this works, perhaps how I do things. I usually clear it up in the beginning. Some people just, they get it or they just didn't get every little bit of it. And so they're just checking in. And I can get your point of view, but it isn't always justified. In a lot of these cases, the client isn't always right. I'm sorry to say that, but it's something you have to get used to in business funding. You've probably already gone used to it, not only with business funding, home mortgages, and everything else out there. And this is the truth. It's not like I don't care about you. That's a different thing. I do care about you, who you are as a person. First, business comes second to me, and I do a lot. And so I go the extra length and the mile for you guys. I have quite a few people. Actually, let me check something, and I'll come to the comment section right now. But all information, again, it's in the bio, in the description to get started if you need more help with that. And then we can carry onward. Let's see over here. I have a few applicants. Okay, just making sure with a few applicants that were coming through today that I was helping them out get business funding. And here are a few scenarios. I know we're kind of away from the business SBA 7A loans, but again, like I said, those videos are down below and there's a way for you to get in contact with me with the questionnaire. Now you're saying, yeah, it's okay to admit that. Appreciate you. Thank you for saying it. I know it's hard, but I think sometimes whether we say it in voice or we think about it, at least express it in a way, it gets it out there. It's like saying the habit when, you put your hand in a cookie jar and you say, I'm eating another cookie. When you verbalize it or you at least think it through, you go, oh, okay, this isn't going to help me. I'm going to eat this cookie and it's going to do more harm to my body than it is going to do good. I don't need that extra one. So it's better to at least acknowledge it than to say, hey, I'm just going to go without it, because that's going to hurt in the longer term. So a few examples and I'll close up. Business owners who come to me, they have perhaps their personal, everything built underneath their personal account, but there's no business credit. They have the revenue, they have everything in place, and they'll come to me and go, well, I don't want these merchant cash advances where I'm paying daily or weekly. Sometimes bi-weekly, even sometimes in a monthly. At monthly, it's very rare. You have to have exceptional details. And I won't get into the specifics on all that right now. But somebody who's doing 6 figures a month versus somebody who's doing 6 figures a month and has business credit maybe looked at it a better solution with the monthly type of a payment as opposed to somebody who doesn't have that. So that's a difference that it can make. And a monthly isn't always going to be the best because you may already be paying a lot of rent, credit cards, and there's more that you're stacking on top of it. So an additional 7,000 to 10,000 more or less per month unsecured financing on top of everything else, you're getting the 20,000 and above per month. That's a lot you have to pay per month. More is coming out of your account. You're having less cash flow. Instead of saying, hey, I know what's being taken out of my account. It's not fluctuating. I know what's expected. I know what sales I'm generating day to day, if so. So it's not so much of a big deal. But it's the individuals who have to take on a lot of personal loans, or not personal loans, a lot of their cash advances, because either they're growing faster or they just don't understand like how they work. Now, if you're growing in revenue, you're growing so fast, it's another thing. And you're just moving so fast that you haven't even built business credit, so you can't look at another option, perhaps consolidating these advances you have underneath the monthly term loan lender, perhaps an SBA loan if you needed 2+ years in a lot of cases. So it's this whole, I got myself into a vicious cycle of taking out cash advances. I have multiple positions. How can you help me consolidate them? Is it going to be underneath an SBA Express Loan, a 7A loan? How will this work? Can a term loan lender look at my situation? What are the chances, Michael, of this happening? How can I pay off existing debt? There are a lot of reasons. So I'm going to end it there and come to the comments, and then I'll close up. You had another business in the beauty space, paid about $1,000 to Dun & Bradstreet is what you're saying, and haven't even added my accounts. Yeah. I mean, that speaks volume when you are paying somebody to expect the result and you're not getting it. And whether it's a reflection, it's a difference when you have somebody else who's doing it for you, done for you, and it's another thing doing it for yourself. So we have to be on top of these things. And if we're expected to just hand everything over to somebody and just do it, that's one thing. But are they doing it right? And are you checking in, monitoring your business credit? You're probably not. And you think something's reporting when it in fact isn't. And then you go and apply for an SBA loan and you wonder why you didn't get approved, because what you thought you were doing was working, instead it wasn't. And so the lender's like, and I go, when I look at the business credit profiles or the more so the personal credit profiles, I go, what? I thought this was supposed to be reporting. Yeah. And so just get out of this video that it's one thing to get an SBA Express Loan, standard loan. It's another way to get another type of financing, and how to put the two together and how to eventually get there. And we all have to start somewhere and then pivot if we need. Like, hey, I've done enough of this. How can I consolidate, Michael? I worked on my credit. I have business credit now. What can I do with these advances? Or what can I do with my building my business credit profile even better and stronger? Getting access to more business credit cards. I'm here for you. I'm going to help you remove negative trade lines, build trade lines, remove or build better moving forward with inquiries, making sure you're limiting them to none, to a little bit. Find the right direct lender partnership or a brokerage setup where I already have those direct lender partnerships. It's just better to do it this way, more of an in-house setup, more safely and securely. And for your situation, it's better because how you can maximize your funding and build a stronger and even better relationship gets you more access, not limited. And then there are other ways of doing this, perhaps a hybrid and so forth. So I think I will leave you guys with that in this video. There are no more comments. Unless there were to be one, I'll leave it about 30 seconds and then I will get going. Welcome in. What are the terms on an SBA loan typically? Good question. Now, my brain always goes to how can I reverse engineer all of this? And so there are a lot of ways of answering this question when it comes to what your situation is. Do you have real estate, not real estate? How much cash flow, liquidity, equity, liquidity at closing, maybe not at closing? What percentage of a down payment to help drop the interest, and what happens with the terms? So, but in a general sense, the terms on an SBA loan, you can see up to 10 years in working capital. You can see above 2 years, somewhere above, sometimes 2 years in, but more about 3 to 10 years in working capital. And it can be in increments. It can be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Somewhat similar to a online bank term loan where you see your choice sometimes of 2, 3, 5, 7 or so years. But it's more of a factor on all of the things we have to look at and say, hey, what is this funding being used for? But up to 10 years working capital, up to 25 years with real estate inclusion. And that's what your expectation of a time frame is. And then like SBA acquisition loans, especially if it's seller financing, that's like the situation where if a seller comes in and they want to finance and help you and they say, hey, I'm going to put as much of this, but you need to come in with more, it may be where your terms are going to be less. You're looking at like 3 years in a lot of cases, 3, 5 years with those types of seller financing situations. Not all, but you'll see that. And more comes out of your pocket. So just keep in mind it's different for each and every solution and what we're looking for. Appreciate that. And an email to get our stuff moving again. Yes, I will look out for it. Right now, I don't think I received one text message. I can look through my emails and make sure I see you right here. There it is. There's some more information. Okay. So I have information there that's popped up, and perhaps that text is yet to come. Maybe it just glanced by or just a notification didn't come up, but usually it's there. And so that's what the expectations are. Just understand that everybody's in a different situation. You can't compare yourself to, hey, well, that guy got 1 to 2 years. How did he get a monthly repayment? Well, but have you been tuning into my content? Have you been listening, watching, putting it into action? And perhaps that's a yes on your part, but other individuals, they just stick behind the scenes and go, I'm just going to go apply everywhere and everywhere, Michael, whether he knows it or not. I'm just going to go click an email, or, oh, well, that one I didn't like, so I'm going to go apply. That's terrible. That's not what you want. The apply everywhere and anywhere spray and pray method is going to backfire on you. Like, I can see it from miles away, a fire burning in the distance. And whether it works for you or not, hey, okay, initially, but what will it look like down the road? That's another question. And then you take more advances and then you take more funding and you go, you didn't even fix the actual diagnosis. You were just fixing a symptom. Well, my business was growing fast and I needed to take out, okay, that's fine. You hadn't worked on everything else. But at a point, you have to think about it and go, now I got to consolidate, or what do I do to refinance this? And how do I lower my interest rates? How can I increase my terms? And while getting more funding over time, well, I know I have to start somewhere. And that's how it is. It was for me. Should be like that for you. It's no different. You are welcome. It is, man. It's just this whole expectation, this entitlement, this I deserve. Well, I have a guy right now who, I said it in a very nice way. I never say anything bad. It's just email after email. Like, you understood this coming into it, and then you're saying, well, I of course have to get something different. If I have this amount of time in business and I'm doing this in revenue, I should be qualifying for something else. You should, but you're not. You think, but you won't. You're speculating. Sure, the Express Loan can bring you in at 120, 660 and above, some cases with FICO and 2+ years in business, but have you looked at everything else? No bankruptcies, no foreclosures, no open tax liens within the last 3 years or so. Sometimes even more depending on the industry and lender. Business credit profile built, FICO SPSS scores, having the right business credit profile, tax return profitability, the right cash flow. Like, sure, it's an entrance point, but if you don't have all these other components and more, it won't work. I appreciate that you said that, and I know your mindset. That you'd rather work with one person and build a working relationship, and that's what you should have in mind now and forever. Even if you haven't received funding or you're preparing for it, is just say, hey, who am I working with? What's my lender? Who is my, not necessarily underwriters, who's my broker? Who will show me that after I get this funding, what is available thereafter? I can come back and get more funding that I needed underneath the same lender. Perhaps it's another lender that you add in on top of that. And if it makes sense to do that, I'll guide you. And I'll show you, hey, take the $35K if you have that, and then pay it off. If you said you're going to pay it off fast, do that. No early payment discounts are there, no prepayment penalty. Good. And so when there are prepayment penalties, and I won't get into that with the SBA right now, you have to understand that there are a lot of people out there who go to refinance. An individual you'll go to, or they'll come to you and go, hey, we can refinance that. And they'll take you as their client. So to protect the lender in our situation as well, for them to receive their money, like getting paid on interest, fees, etc., they have to make sure that there's a return for them. That's why you see a lot of these 50% paid off the balance and so forth. But it varies on different lenders and different loan products. So about another minute. Unless somebody has questions, I will get going. And then Matthew, if you're still in here, I will get back to you. I know there are a few text messages here and there. Sometimes I don't get a chance to respond back because I'm quite busy. But, you know, just keep, if you have, you know, I'm not saying you have to just keep knocking down that door, but I'll be there, I'll show up. It's just not always going to be immediate. But yeah, it's already in October. If you're looking forward for funding, I'll look back for the email right there that I actually have open, and I'll go through quite a few things and then we can progress. But I'm going to take a break after this. So I'll leave it open for about 30 more seconds. There's so much in this world you guys have to learn when it comes to funding. Like what lenders are appropriate to use, which ones are not. Why shouldn't I apply here? Why should I? It's not like I'm trying to steer you to do what I want you to do for my best interest. That's not what this is. I want you to know that you're in safe hands at the end of the day. Let's see this. Move this out of the way. I was going through my credit line hybrid program. Let me move this out. Building access to more credit limits. And then I have my LinkedIn opened. Yeah, there's that one I can move away from. Okay, no more questions, anybody? I'll give you guys 15 seconds if anybody has something to say. All right, here we have Marco. Welcome in. How are you doing today? Mr. Patterson. It's like synonymous with Mr. Anderson. Not really, but it makes me think of the Matrix in some ways. I can be a nerd sometimes. I think today Muse is performing in Los Angeles. I don't know if you guys are Muse fans. Man, I was trying to go out there to go watch them perform in Los Angeles, but I didn't get a chance to do that. I think that's today, yeah. That'd have been awesome. One of my favorite bands is called Muse. They're a British rock band. You know, they're well known in the US and the States, and I've been listening. They're one of the biggest rock bands out there. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? It's just, man, it hits you differently spiritually, man. Like when you really tune in, not only to the lyrics, but like the rhythm, the bass, everything that they have going on musically, sound, piano with their guitars, their bass, the vocals, the drumming, Dominic and Chris, and just everybody in there is just Mr. Bellamy, man. It's just amazing type of work that they can create. So can we get a new Can a new LLC get money? Yes, it can. So it's a difference. It's not so much of a factor business credit wise, because that will be, but it's more in like, hey, I was a sole proprietor, independent contractor, however I operated, and then I converted into an LLC. But the question is, how much time do you have in business? A new LLC is different in a different association, unless you're putting all of that together and you're just not even a month time in business. And what we look at more importantly, aside from the LLC, it's business credit one thing, but with non-business credit, we look at your bank statements. We look to see how much bank statements you have, and lenders sometimes look at just 3 months, 3 to 4 months, 4 to 6 months. Sometimes up to 12 months, depending on the service and industry. So it'll vary. But, you know, with 4+ months, 6+ months in business, sometimes 3+ months, we can look at getting in with funding. Other preferred lenders would want at least a year's worth. And even when they bring up their qualifications within time, they're requesting more in revenue as well, because time isn't associated directly with revenue. They're two different things. So your time in business can come up, but your revenue, you know as well, can do this. Can go on and then. People who got hit by COVID hard, who are coming out on the other end, just trying to resurface. Others who are increasing their gross profit margins, their gross revenue, their profitability. They've cleaned up everything, and they're ready to go. And like right now, I'm working with a lot of people who are consolidating merchant cash advances, who are getting it underneath an SBA loan who I am working with. Okay, since you answered, let me come back to another 30 seconds and I will go. Nobody have questions? Unless you do, I will get going. I'm not getting too specific on the grants, but I will touch upon them and say there are always new grants opening, and I'm not going to start naming them in case that's what you wanted to know. There's the Hello Skip grant, there are the Hello Alice grant, there's Verizon grants, minority-owned business grants, and there's a whole subset of those that I can start naming. But again, I can't get into them like right here specifically for that one purpose as well as others. And what happens with grants is it can be more of a meticulous process to go through, especially the SBA Microloan, especially if you're going through it within your state. There's a lot more. And not everybody gets approved. And so just understand that even though there's quote unquote free money out there, at what expense do you have to go through to get it? Is your energy and time allocating to that worth it? You have to question that. And if so, what other solutions can I add on top of it, or what else can I look for? But I have grant opportunities in the bio description. So I should have a document that I have them updated, and there'll be more that I have to add on top of that. Yeah, just one thing too. A lot of people get cold feet. I could tell you all the people I've helped who have lower revenue, and I have other brokers who I have trained in the past, and I still do. People, they have that expectation from me, and I want to show up to help them as in the time that I can and energy. Of course, has to be reasonable. But I get people who even come through me and they go, well, I can't afford to make the repayment on this. Well, yes, you can. We would have never given you something you couldn't afford. You may know that in about a month or two, maybe less or more, it may be in a situation where you're going to be cash flow negative, or it just won't help you. You're going to be going into more negative days, non-sufficient funds, overdrafts, chargebacks, and you feel like that'll be the case. But what's the underlying problem isn't that you cannot afford it, because affordability, we would have never have given you something you couldn't afford. So what do you think it is? It's fear, a lack of understanding, a lack of education, a lack of what you got yourself into. And that's why a lot of people who go and apply, they think, well, why didn't I get 20,000 if I'm only doing 5,000 a month? Not even with collateral will a lender look at collateralizing the loan. They want to see at least 25,000 and above, usually, more respectfully, to take that situation and collateralize it. And so equipment is different. I don't want to get too much ahead of myself. But it's not associated with not being able to do that. It's the fear of the unknown. Because these funds, you're taking them, you don't know what return on your investment you'll get. You have a pattern necessarily where, hey, if I put $1 into my market and I get 1 to 2, 1 to 3, or whatever it is, well, my return on my investment financially, as well as my activities I'm doing day to day, that's why people struggle to take the funding, because they don't know that. And then their benefit doesn't exceed the repayment. You take the funding, yet it's more expensive. It's up here. Your benefit is here. Your ROI is just hanging up here. It hasn't even moved, or it has. It's just like, but my repayments, Michael. Yeah, but you're not taking that money and doubling, tripling, quadrupling. The worth of taking that money is not going to exceed the principal plus the interest that you're paying for the allotted time you've been given. So when people come to me, I think that's a whole lot of just masking it respectfully. And you may know a little bit more that you didn't say forthcoming. So it's less about that and more about and then what it also comes down to is your finances. Understanding that, sorry, I was itching back here. Understanding that you as a business owner who is the forefront of everything, who is taking care of your finances? Is it just you? Well, you may be, but do you understand your finances? That's the other question. You probably don't. So you don't know what you can do. You don't keep track of that. Business operational. You don't keep form of finances. Probably the product guy, the marketing, advertising guy, but you don't keep track of your finances. So when it comes time to, oh man, well, that's why, because you don't understand. And these are just some of the many reasons. How much can you borrow from an SBA as an LLC for a private or special events place? Good question. I wouldn't add the LLC part to it. I mean, it's not like it's going to give you, it's more of a business credit thing, and it can help you also with an SBA loan with more legitimacy. That's what they want to see, the lenders, of course. But for your specific industry, for special events or for private or special events places, it's a lot that I have to ask you. And without knowing your revenue, without knowing your FICO, without knowing your profitability, your year-to-date, your profit and loss, I can't say whether you're going to get 150 to 350K or above that, or even anything. So what I recommend doing is going to the bio, filling out that questionnaire form, getting in touch, and then I will be able to help out. MCAs are Gambino Mafia loans. If you're still in here, can you please express to me why you think that? Do you have a specific experience with them or somebody else you may know about? I'm not saying by any means are you wrong right now until I have further information. It's just people jump to a conclusion. There's a misunderstanding about MCA loans, even the hybrid cash advances. People think that they're, loan shark type of loans. You are welcome. And the reality is, you just don't understand how to use them. That's what like over 90% of the people don't know what to do with. They go, man, merchant cash advances suck. Well, yeah, because you didn't use them correctly. It's your fault. Sorry, but it is. And I care about you. I'm not saying I don't. That's not what this is. Don't get it wrong. What I'm saying is it could be your fault because you didn't understand what you were getting yourself into, or somebody didn't explain it to you. Somebody else just buttered you up, and it's not all your fault. I get that. There are circumstances where it may be. And then there are circumstances where, well, this person didn't tell me that I would have a high interest and I wouldn't be able to afford it. And what I was taking, I shouldn't have taken. So it's less about that and also understanding your finances and being in a growth and expansion mode, increasing your revenue. Anybody have questions? About 30 more seconds. I know this room is filling up, so if anybody has anything, I'll stick around for a little bit. Remember, guys, when you get funding, I've got your back. Trust in me. I will take care of you. I won't send you down the wrong path. I won't give you none of that BS lender who then shops your information or does something wrong, or they don't give you the best thing. People who apply for an A-tier lender when they're a C or D-tier lending client, they don't ever get like why that happened, why they keep applying and then they keep getting turned down, because I see it. I communicate with my lenders, with my own team that I've assembled, lenders, underwriters, and a few other individuals who we all collaborate and who we all meet, and we all know parts of the underwriting process. And so it's in your best interest to stay educated in this space. You cannot just say, well, there's free money or there's money out there, I'm just going to go and apply. Do you guys, I'm not going to name a company right now, but multiple of these online marketplaces that you guys, I'm sure you guys ran into already. Probably gave them your information on getting email after emails. I know this. I've received funding before. Nothing really gets to me. There's something different with each person, but the psychology of getting business funding, I know it completely. And if there's something that I need to know, of course I'm going to ask questions. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, that's what we do. We ask questions to get deeper into the actual problem or problems, the deepest and then the most concerning one or ones. And so that's part of my job, and I'm a business loan broker expert, so I will take care of it. And these companies, it pisses me off. It's like they take your information and they bait and switch. I used to refer people to a legitimate lender, and then they changed their whole internal team, and then I found out what they were doing, and I had to change things, and I had to speak with their account manager. I went that far, and I know the lenders, and I know the underwriters, and I know what they should and shouldn't be doing. But what happens with these types of online marketplaces is they bait and switch. Well, you thought you were going to get an express loan, or you thought you were going to get an equipment loan or this, and they wanted you to get a cash advance instead, when you could qualify for more. Or if not, they don't explain to you enough of what they're trying to do. So they're pushing a different agenda. It's time we stop that. And then what happens is it's not even your fault in all cases, because you may have applied to the right lender with the right intentions, or wrong lender, but that information is stored in the credit bureaus. There's this thing called trigger leads. These organizations, ISOs, brokers, agents, they come over here to Experian, TransUnion, etc., and they purchase that database. And guess what? That's how they call you. That's how they connect with you. So even the best lenders, it happens to sometimes, but I'll let you know, and your privacy is always protected with me. Hello, how are you doing? I would love a loan for $200K. Your company makes 10 to 15K. I am trying to increase your number of trucks. So you're in the trucking industry? Been in business since January of this year. My credit score is around 600. Got it. What would it take me, to get around that much? So let me address the amount that you're looking for and what you're doing per month in gross revenue. So at 200K, this looks like a situation where either it's a combination of personal / it is most likely because you just started this year cash advance, but it won't get you that amount. You're probably looking at up to 75% of your lowest month in the last 3 months. So if you're getting like 7,500 to start with, I mean, how do you add 7,500 to get to 200? Well, personal loan, but a personal loan, that may not even be enough. If you're generating about 90K per year, well, we can look at getting you between 40 to 120,000. Great, but that's another 40 plus 7,500. That's just what, maybe over 50,000 or 50,000 and below. Well, that's not enough. Well, okay, home equity lines of credit, credit line hybrids. Well, that's not an equation. That's out of it because of my credit. So maybe a form of equipment financing, traditional leasing, sales leaseback, EFAs. These forms will help. Now, I can help fund those quote-unquote startups or more newly established businesses as well as non-startups. There are some contingencies, though, that need to be met credit-wise, and then more so business credit. So, excuse me, do you have business credit established? Excuse me. See, that's where we would want to work on things. And more realistically, like I said in the beginning of this video, with your one box truck, which is a huge feat. So congrats on doing that. And I know it can be difficult sometimes to get the vehicle and get your business started. So that's one part. And then second of it is when you're building your business credit, you want to have at least, with those 3 credit bureaus built, reporting trade lines, at least 3 they want to see. If not for all 3, at least 1 or 1 to 2. And the paydex score developed, a decent paydex score. Better to have 80 and above. So you're working on this. And it realistically takes 6 to 8 months. So if you're looking for equipment financing, realistically, you won't get approved. I have had to shut down a lot of individuals. It doesn't matter their revenue, even their personal credit profile, because it's not outweighing their business credit entirely, because there's no business credit. It's thin credit, not credit worthy. That's what will happen. You'll be shut down. And even if you were given a chance, guess what? your rates will be much higher, entirely higher. And then your down payment, yeah, you're not looking at like 20% anymore. You're looking at 25 to 50, 25 to 60%. It happens. See it every single day. I help out individuals and I show them this, and then they're like, let me just at least see what I can get. And I already know the outcome. If that's how the way you want to approach it, well, so yeah, I would work on that and then build it. Build your business credit. Like, no other question asked. And I can have this information already for you. It's already in the bio and in the description. But build your business credit. That's what you should ultimately be doing. Realistically, in 6 months, you can get access to 30,000 to 50,000 in lines. And that right there, look, you're already getting 30 to 50,000. On top of that, guess what? You're taking that money, perhaps you get a different form of an equipment, and then that equipment is then taking it to your revenue is then now at 30 to 40,000. You took something that was used, applied it, got access to more funding on the back end. So now you're at 30 to 40. Now you're moving from 40 to 50, 50 to 60. And it can be rather quickly. You employ more people. You keep more money in your account that you deposit rather than what you withdraw every month. And that can increase your chances of getting approved for more. Now you're getting approved for not that 5 to 25K. You're probably getting 35 to 70,000 plus in certain facilities and certain requirements that we look at. And so 70,000 there on top of 50,000 in a line of credit, my God, like Jesus. Wow. Now I'm at 120, 150. I'm building. Now I get access to an SBA Express Loan. Boom. Your world just blew up. Now you have an Express Loan for at least 150K. 150K back-end funds of an additional 100,000. I have 250,000. Now I can take more funding out if I want unsecured or offer up collateral. But guess what? Now if I want specific equipment financing, I can go do that. Or I can just take the SBA Express funding that I have and apply it towards equipment, smaller equipment purchases. But people don't think these things through, or they don't know about them. We just expect the money to fall in our lap. It's not how it works. Everything is about repayability. How much debt can you in fact get into? You can't get into debt 300,000 over 18 months, but somebody else can. So why would we ever give you 200,000 when you're only doing about, let's say we want to get 500,000, but you're only doing 100,000 in annual gross revenue, barely breaking points? How can we service that debt at 500, paying back 600,000 or so? Like, even if the term is longer, like, that doesn't make sense. Are you? Let me see up here. What would be the best way to get a lender to borrow 150K from them? The business has not opened yet. Like I just mentioned, that private lending route, it's going to be difficult. You can look at things from a real estate financing perspective and say, even with little experience, there could be funding. I mean, there has to be appraisals and the different routes you're going in. Down payments, you always want to have that ready with these types of transactions and these types of deals, because when we talk loan to value, loan to costs, somebody may have more experience, less of a down payment to put, but you may have more with less experience, less than desirable credit even at that, but get less of a loan to value because of that. And so I don't want to get too far ahead with real estate stuff, but I think you know where I'm going with this is you have to have some type of revenue, sales, build your business credit, get into the credit line hybrid. That's what I would do. Get 0% interest for 6 to 18 months. Don't even think about it twice. Do it. Get it done. And fix your credit. Be more attractive of a client. Come back and do that. If there's too many inquiries, fix that. Come in. Get access. And then there's like unconventional ways like home equity lines of credit. I mean, I can go into another long array of services, but we'll just leave it at that. Those city permits, though. Building department, got it. What would you need help with? Hey, cool name. Any thoughts on financing for the purchase of an online business with a history of revenue? Multiple. I can speak with you outside of here. I help a lot of people right now get equipment, not equipment, excuse me. I've been on equipment for a little bit. Business acquisition loans, franchises, etc. And so I can work with you on that, gather the necessary documentation. Even before any kind of documentation is requested, I will go through a few steps and see if you qualify and see how I can pre-underwrite a file. But yeah, there are multiple ways. Even with a history of revenue is even better. That's what usually you want. Have an existing business. Even if you don't have an existing business, like what kind of experience do you have? And it's harder to fund a startup completely out of the scratch. Not a lot of lenders are wanting to do that. But if you're looking for business funding acquisition for a business, for another business, I should say, then that's something definitely that I can help with. You have contacted me via your site with my info and never heard back. How long ago was this? Can you please let me know? There are times where I don't get back to everybody. Last night, literally from about 6:30 to 9:30, 10, yeah, I was emailing people. Like, that's how flooded I am. Like, I had to spend an evening just to email people. You guys are like, he's crazy. And I don't do it every time. I may do it tonight again. But it's because of that. My time management is fine. And who is it exactly? Can I get a name? Because I see usernames and I'm familiar, but I always want to make sure I'm speaking to the right person. So I can move you back up to the top and make sure that I cover your file as fast as I can. Just so you guys know, I'm not slow at this. It's just usually just me doing all this. So. You guys got to keep in mind, I'm the broker, the person who does the information, and does quite a few other things. Right, yeah, no, it's not that I wouldn't remember. The thing is, and I'm writing your name down here so I can come back to it. And the reason this happens is because of usernames. Like one person who comes to me with the username of user number, well, yeah, but then there's times where people come and then they go, they never show up again. So others I can just pinpoint like that. And so if it's that case and that's the scenario, I mean, you got to understand that. Ah, yeah, I got it. And I'll reference it some time ago, yeah. Okay. But yeah, you don't have to give me more information. So I'll reflect back on that, I'll go through it, and I'll make sure to keep in touch. Like I said again, after this video is done, I'm gonna go take a break. Been on my work for quite some time. I need to get off of this and go do other things. Now, does anybody have any questions before I get going? If you'd like to, go ahead. You don't have to. I can just go through that. But what it does, if you do, it'll show up in the top of my email. So I can just kind of reference it much faster. But I can always find my information. Okay, about 20 more seconds. Oh, here's another question. Hey, welcome back. How are you doing? I've tried to answer this question multiple times today, so I'll just keep it broad, like I did. Bio, questionnaire, and I know that's there already, but after that comes in, if I haven't taken the time to reply back, I will go through them. Again, I get quite busy. And I don't look at you guys as a number, just so you guys know this. It's not like that. It's for me. You guys probably could tell right now I'm already tired. But I will get back to those of you who haven't been able to. I apologize if I haven't sincerely. It's just people expect me to be somewhere. Don't have that expectation. There's a lot of you who I get back to like that. Others who I have to kind of just push it out a little bit. So bio, questionnaire form, fill out, evaluate, analyze, email back, boom, bada bing, bada boom. Go in, documentation. I ask for it myself, or we have a portal where you can see it in our back portal. I'll follow up with you. It's that straightforward. I'll show you how all of this works, qualifications. But it's those people who, hey, how can I get help? And then they, I get a hold of them and they just never, at least some feedback. It's rude, I think, when I've worked with someone and they just completely went ghost. Especially if you're already in the underwriting and the application process. That's just terrible. I had a few people not too long ago go out of the state without telling me. And so I was trying to contact them. We could never get a hold of them. And it just irritated me over time because then they came back and said, hey, I was on vacation. And I was like, you're over here trying to get an SBA loan that you can qualify for $2 million and you just expected to leave for a month? And I told you in the beginning that that's not what we should do. If you're going to leave, tell me at least so I can prepare ahead of time, my underwriters, the lenders who took time out of their day, energy. I'm like, what the hell is this guy? Don't do that. Nobody has energy and time to spend with that. So I think I'm going to leave it here. Appreciate you all for tuning in. And keep looking out for the content. Refer to the bio description if you're watching this later on YouTube, perhaps now. And fill out that questionnaire if you haven't. I'll be sending you more information. Our video channel, or my YouTube channel, I should say, not our, just mine, has been growing rapidly. Appreciate your guys' support every single day. It doesn't go out of my mind. It's always there. You guys are always on the back of my mind. And I appreciate you all for always helping and supporting, and I'll be there always for you. All right. Email, MICH, so I'll just say it. My first name, Michael, at viralfundingsolutions.com. So it is MICHAEL at viralfundingsolutions.com. If you do that, I'll most likely will send you the questionnaire form, and then we can go begin from there. A lot of people want a phone call. Perhaps it's better to do the questionnaire form to start. A lot of people want my time on a phone call. If I were doing that every day, just can't do it. I don't know why it doesn't work. Like my bio, people can access it, but sometimes the link doesn't work. So I get that. You might have to exit out of here. I forgot how, out of a live. But from there, then you can go to the right profile, make sure it's right. It's mine. There's a lot of copycats that I don't associate with. And then begin from there. Also, my site, it is viralfundingsolutions.com. Again, viral, like something going viral, fundingsolutions.com. And then you can begin there. Questionnaire form underneath the how it works part. Okay, that'll conclude. Appreciate you all for tuning in, and I will talk to you all soon.